Welcome to another Inside UC Baseball podcast. My name is Michael Ader, media assistant for UC Baseball, and today we're joined by head coach Andrew Wright.
Appreciate you having me, Michael.
Thank you for coming. So, through the first 20 games of the season, UC went 500, and you guys had a record of 10-10. Since then, UC has gone 11-1 with a one loss coming after a 10-game win streak. That marked the longest win streak in program history, tying it with Nazca's 1981 team. If you had to point out one thing that sparked the hot streak, what would that be?
I think just confidence in our ability to win when we play clean baseball. I think that's probably the most common theme of it. Now, I will say that I felt like we escaped in that 10-game win streak. I felt like we escaped with some wins that we probably kind of got away with because we played sloppy-er baseball, but not like so much that we would lose a game. And then it just kind of caught up with us there against Alderson Broadus. We didn't play clean baseball. We deserved to get beat, to be honest with you. So I think it was actually for that to have happened at the time that it happened. I think it was actually good for us to make this last little stretch run. It's kind of a reminder that you can't just roll the ball out and win baseball games. But to your question, I think it was just a matter of us figuring out what our best lineup is and then starting to play with some confidence. So I think that's what you saw.
With Tom Nazca's his just status amongst the program, what he's done, how does it feel to tie it with his record for the baseball program with wins?
It feels outstanding. So Coach Nazika was, obviously spending as long as he did here, the impact that he had. It's nice to be mentioned in the same sentence with him. You know what I mean? That's and the outpouring of support that we had from Naz's, from retiring the jersey and getting some of the alumni back on board. It really, if I ever needed the motivation to work even harder, I think that was it. So. It's been really nice to see, and again, just an honor to be mentioned in the same sentence for sure.
Definitely. So with this season going on, how is it different from last year's season, and what are some of the things that have been similar, you think?
Record was identical up till about a week ago, and then, or I guess a couple of weeks ago. But I think that. I think at this point in the year, I felt like we are playing more confident baseball earlier than we did last year. So we went on a pretty good. I think we were playing really, really, really aware of ourselves late in the season last year. I think we're still trying to figure some of that out through the middle part of the season last year, to where I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule on that. Now I say that, and we can go out and not perform the same way that we did last year, but I'd like to think that our chances are pretty good because if we continue on the course that we're on right now, we have a chance to do something pretty special for sure.
So you say overall at this point, compared to last year, you guys are made improvements, you think?
I really do think so. I really do think so. I think there were some. I think it was the sense of urgency came a little bit later last year. I think the sense of urgency came a little bit earlier this year because we made it more of a point to say that we've been through this now for 2 years where we pick up some steam, then we hit a lull, and we didn't want to do that again. So. We've had multiple conversations about making sure that we play our best baseball every time we have an opportunity to compete against someone else, and hopefully it's going to pay off for us down the stretch.
Do you think that the success from last year, so last year if you had the same record, but then having success of last year, this year, and having the same record, do you think that had an impact? Like, you guys know you're a better baseball team than you were playing?
Yes, I think we are a better baseball team than we were last year. I think we're different. Zero disrespect to the people who aren't here anymore. I don't think we're better. I just think we're different. And I think for the schedule that we're playing and the way that we have to win baseball games, the people that we have in our program are exactly what we need to make the kind of run that we need to make to hopefully get into a regional.
So UC is 21-11 overall right now. And you guys are 14-2 in conference play, giving them first place in the MEC Southern Division. How important is that in the team's placement going into the tournament?
I think it's obviously very important. I think you look around our conference, everybody's got a really strong number one. So I think the seeding, 1 versus 3 is in a lot of ways is irrelevant because I think when everybody has their number one on the mound, it's a completely different baseball game. So what we're trying to do is just put ourselves in a position. Obviously, we want to win the Southern Division, just for the sake of playing good baseball, because that should be a product of playing good baseball. But we just want to remind ourselves what it's supposed to look like when we get into playoff time, and try to put ourselves in a really good position to play in a regional again.
So the team went on a 10-game win streak, but there's always things to improve upon. What do you think are some of those things that the team has done but can still improve on for the future?
Flashes of absolute brilliance,
Mhm.
and then lulls of complacency, I guess. And I don't blame our players for that. I blame myself for that. And it's something that, as the leader of this organization, that I've got to identify and make sure that we can kind of snuff that out to the point that it never happens again. It never shows up. I think it's easy to go out and execute the brand of baseball that you have, and then just it becomes so much of a routine that you hit a lull, and then you get caught off guard. Again, we all have a hand in it, but I'm going to take the accountability for it. And I think even with some of those wins that we feel like we're escaping with, sometimes it creeps in, and we have to like splash water in our face and say, hey, we got to be better than that. So that's one of the things that I think, if we can, and me especially as a leader, learn how to show up and put the pedal down for 50 straight games, we have a chance to be an incredibly strong program. And it's something I'm really excited to see us do over the next 18 games in the regular season, and then into the playoffs, and again, hopefully into a regional, and to try to make some noise, because it's easy to kind of turn that dial up when you get into a competitive environment, when the lights are on, you're playing for something, and things like that. So the challenge of being 14-2 is great, but it's very easy to put it into neutral a little bit and know that, hey, if we just go play 500 baseball here, we're still going to make a tournament. But I don't want that to be the case. We have to learn what it feels like to play when the stakes maybe aren't as high, and we almost have to trick ourselves into thinking that the stakes are high every time you step on the mound, and things like that. That's one of the biggest conversations that we had yesterday, actually, at practice. I even felt like at the end of practice, it was starting to creep in. And I stopped practice, and I took ownership over the fact that we have to be better, and it starts with me. Like, we can't ever let good baseball turn into, okay, now I can kick it into cruise control, and then just hope to collect some wins. That's not, there's no teachable lesson in that other than what happens when it doesn't work out. So, and the last thing that I explained to them is that there's a measure of accountability. There's no better accountability than losing a game, right? And basically that was one of the big things that we have been discussing with our guys, is that the game is a public display of how good you are. So if you're going to lose a sloppy game in a midweek, or you're going to lose a sloppy game in a conference weekend, that's a public display of how good you are, as it relates to how you prepare, as it relates to how you compete, and things like that. So we're really trying to stay away from that, because we know we are capable of so much more.
Yeah. So would you say, obviously it's never, you don't want to lose, but would you say after the 10-game win streak, having that loss, like just this time of the season, kind of helped spark, like, we're not just going to win every game, you still need to improve upon things?
Yeah, I think it's, again, I don't like the idea of moral victories and things like that, like thinking, oh, like we lost, but there's a takeaway from this.
Yeah.
So we can get back on the bus and feel happy about it. I wasn't happy about it. Like, it wasn't, unfortunately, we went out in game 2 and still didn't play the cleanest of baseball. We found a way to win a game, and there was a bit of relief on the travel back, but again, you're thinking the whole way back, like, we absolutely won't get away. So that is one of the things that we have to do a really good job of, is don't wait until the accountability piece happens to learn your lesson. I think we've all played the game enough, we've all been around the game enough to know that if you play sloppy baseball, you're going to lose. So you know what it looks like, so cut it off before it even happens. So I think if we can really commit to that over the next 18 games in the regular season, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen over the next month and a half.
Definitely. So in the final stretch of the season, what does the team have to do to make sure it goes in the tournament playing its best baseball, you think?
I like the fact that our schedule is built the way that it's built, to where it keeps getting cranked up every single weekend. I mean, we're playing against some of the best. The Southern Division is incredibly strong this year. Any team can beat you on any given day. So again, that's a testament to how good, that's going to be a test to how good we are. So if the statement that I just said holds true, that the game is a public display of how good you are, then we've got 18 opportunities to prove how good we are. And then I think that's kind of one of the takeaways for me, and that one of the things that we're going to keep reminding our guys of is that we can coast, and you'll get you'll end up getting what you were okay with over the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of my big thing. I think learning how to manage a tough schedule. We've got 10 games over the next 7 days.
Mm.
So our starting pitching, our weekend pitching is going to be challenged. Our midweek pitching is going to be challenged. Our bullpen is going to be challenged. My ability to make decisions is going to be challenged, which I love because that's all going to happen again in a month when we're trying to play for another tournament championship.
Mm.
There is nothing easy about winning a conference championship. Nothing easy at all. There's nothing easy about winning a baseball game. But when you ratchet it up like that and you have an opportunity to go through the next 10 days like we are and the next 7 days and playing 10 games, there's no better way to prepare for what could be a really exciting May.
So you think this stretch of having to play so many games in a limited amount of time, you think that's going to help prepare them for the tournament?
100%. You go back to 2017, we had to, in the tournament, we won a game, we had to win a game on a Saturday evening at 7 o'clock in order to play at 10 o'clock the next morning, in order to get into the tournament, into the championship game, to play a game at 1. We won that and had to play a game at 3. I mean, when you think about packing 4 9-inning games into less than 24 hours, like who in their right mind is going to think to try to prepare yourself for that during the middle of the season?
Yeah.
So when we saw this, the weather affecting us the way that it is, and the fact that next weekend, obviously nobody's going to play on Easter, so that bumps that series up, and we can look at it as an inconvenience, but we could also look at it as a challenge, which is something that I'm trying to do. And then we go Saturday against Glenville, Monday against Glenville, Tuesday against Salem, Wednesday against Cal PA, Friday against UVA Wise, Saturday against UVA Wise. Incredible competition packed into a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
We are going to find out what we're made of. And that I don't think there's a better way to recreate it than just to actually recreate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Recreate that kind of tension and that pressure that's going to exist when you get into the tournament. Because in the tournament, they don't care about your sleep schedules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we went in regionals last year, we were playing games at 10 in the morning, like 10 at night, 9 in the morning, like whatever it took in order to get that in. Because when weather hits, they're just trying to get the tournament over.
Yeah.
So the convenience factor and things like that kind of goes out the window when you play in a tournament setting. So we might as well embrace the fact that we are about to play this schedule that we're about to play, and acknowledge it, and then just put it to the side and go play our best baseball.
Definitely. Well, I'd like to thank you, Coach, for taking the time.
Of course.
And also like to thank everybody listening. We really appreciate your support, and hopefully we'll see you next time on the next Inside UC Baseball podcast.